Moneybag Yo.
Yo.
What names did you have before Moneybag Yo?
Lil Yo.
So just Lil Yo and Moneybag Yo.
Rubber Band Yo.
Yeah,
Lil Yo.
See,
Like
yeah. He gonna get in the car and be like, man, I'm so glad I didn't tell him I used to call myself Iceman. You know, just something
just so silly.
Yeah.
Funerals are supposed to be the one place where the noise stops. No beef, no politics, no score settling, just grief. But on January 13th, 2024, in Memphis, that peace shattered in seconds. What was meant to be a quiet gathering at a local event venue turned into a scene straight out of a war zone. Gunshots ripped through the air. People ran for cover. And within minutes, one of the most influential behind-the-scenes figures in Memphis hip-hop was gone. Anthony Mims, known to the city as Big Jook, had been fatally shot. This wasn't random. Memphis police quickly described it as a targeted attack. Broad daylight, multiple shots, a white SUV seen speeding away from the scene. Clean, coordinated, intentional. And just like that, the city was back in familiar territory. Shock, speculation, and tension rising fast. Not because Big Jook wasn't just anyone. He was the older brother of Yo Gotti, a key executive inside Collective Music Group, a major player in shaping Memphis rap's modern business machine. When news spread, the streets lit up instantly. Social media exploded. Theories started forming before the crime scene tape was even cold. Was this retaliation? Was it tied to old Memphis rap wars? Or was something else happening behind the curtain? Because here's what made it even more intense. Big Jook's name had already been circulating in courtrooms months earlier, connected to testimony in the murder case of young Dolph. And when those two timelines collided, Memphis held its breath. What happened next would turn an already painful city into a rumor battlefield. Before the headlines, before the crime scene tape, before the internet theories, Anthony Mims, known as Big Jook, was operating quietly behind one of the most powerful rap labels in the South. He wasn't the flashy face on stage. He wasn't chasing viral moments. He was the infrastructure. As a key executive inside Collective Music Group, Big Jook played a major role in building the label's foundation. Talent scouting, relationship building, logistics, business coordination. The kind of work that doesn't trend online but keeps an empire running. And that empire, led publicly by Yo Gotti. CMG grew from a Memphis street label into a national force. Artists like Moneybag Yo, Block Youngsta, and Glorilla rose under that umbrella. And while Gotti was the front-facing mogul, insiders consistently described Big Jook as one of the key architects behind the scenes. He wasn't loud, he was strategic. But that's why his death didn't just feel personal to the family, it felt destabilizing to the business structure of Memphis rap, because when someone who operates in the shadows gets taken out in broad daylight, it raises questions. Big ones. Was this street retaliation? Was it business fallout? Or was the timing connected to something much deeper unfolding in courtrooms just months earlier? To understand why speculation exploded so fast, you have to look at what was already happening in Memphis long before that funeral turned into chaos. What happened that afternoon wasn't random. It was precise. On January 13th, 2024, Anthony Mims was attending a funeral at a Memphis event venue when gunfire suddenly erupted. Witnesses reported multiple shots fired in rapid succession. People scattered. Cars peeled off. All chaos took over what was supposed to be a moment of mourning. Police later confirmed it appeared to be a targeted attack. This wasn't a stray bullet situation. It wasn't a random dispute. Investigators made it clear early on that the shooters came with intent. Surveillance images soon surfaced showing a white Ford Explorer believed to be connected to the incident. Witnesses described the SUV speeding away immediately after the shooting. But here's where frustration set in. No visible license plate, no clear identifiers, no immediate arrests. Despite public pleas from Memphis police and Crime Stoppers offering anonymity for tips, the case moved slowly. As months passed, no suspects were officially named, no arrests announced. The case remained labeled ongoing. And when investigations stall like that, something else fills the vacuum. Rumors. Memphis already carried deep scars from years of rap-related tension and violence. So when Big Jook's killing went unsolved, social media stepped in to create its own narrative. Theories spread fast. YouTube breakdowns multiplied. Comment sections turned into debate arenas. Because timing mattered. Just months before his death, Big Jook's name had surfaced during courtroom testimony connected to the 2021 murder of young Dolph. And that's when the speculation shifted from who did it to something much heavier. Was this retaliation? To answer that, you have to rewind the Memphis rap war itself. Long before that funeral turned into a crime scene, Memphis rap was already divided. Two major camps, two powerful labels, years of tension. On one side stood Collective Music Group, led by Yo Gotti. On the other stood Paper Route Empire, art built independently by young Dolph. This wasn't just about music charts, it was about territory, pride, and influence inside Memphis. Dolph famously rejected major label deals, even turning down offers that would have tied him to Gotti's circle. He chose independence, built Paper Route from the ground up. That decision alone created friction. Over the years, diss tracks flew, subliminal shots, interviews with thinly veiled references. Fans picked sides. The streets watched closely. Then on November the 17th, 2021, everything changed. Young Dolph was fatally shot in broad daylight at a Memphis bakery. The loss stunned the city. It wasn't just a rap headline, it was a cultural wound. Arrests followed, trials unfolded, and during courtroom proceedings in 2024 and 2025, testimony introduced new layers to the story. That's when Big Jook's name surfaced. Not as a charged defendant, not as a convicted figure, but as a name mentioned in sworn testimony tied to alleged payment discussions connected to the feud. Those claims were never proven in court against him, but they were public, and in Memphis, public accusations don't fade quietly. So when Big Jook was killed in January 2024, while those trial revelations were still unfolding, the timeline alone made people uneasy. The streets started connecting dots. Whether those dots truly connect? That's another question. But once the retaliation theory entered the conversation, it spread fast. This is where the story took a sharp turn. During court proceedings tied to the 2021 murder of young Dolph, testimony introduced serious allegations that sent shockwaves through Memphis. In sworn statements, one of the defendants claimed that Anthony Mims, Big Jook, had allegedly been involved in discussions connected to financial incentives surrounding the feud. The claim suggested he may have played a role behind the scenes. Important to understand, these were courtroom allegations. Big Jook was never formally charged. He was never convicted. He was never publicly questioned by police about it. His name surfaced in testimony, and that alone was enough to ignite speculation. Then something happened that intensified everything. Before investigators could ever interview him regarding those allegations, Big Jook was killed in January 2024. The timing created a storm. His name appears in trial testimony connected to Dolph's case. Months later, he's taken out in what police described as a targeted hit. What the internet immediately labeled it retaliation. Adding another twist, one of the alleged middlemen in Dolph's case, Hernandez Govan, was later acquitted in 2025. That verdict complicated the narrative even further. It didn't erase earlier testimony, but it showed how messy and layered the legal process had become. So now the public was left with allegations in court, an unsolved killing, and no official explanation tying them together. And when law enforcement stays silent, speculation grows louder. That's when the retaliation theory stopped being just gossip and started becoming the dominant narrative online. But dominant doesn't mean proven, and that distinction matters. The moment Big Jook was killed, one word took over social media: revenge. Because in Memphis, history doesn't move quietly. It echoes. When Anthony Mims was shot months after his name surfaced in testimony tied to young Dolph's case, the timeline alone made people uneasy. To many online, it looked like the cycle had come full circle. The theory spread fast. If Big Jook had allegedly been connected, even indirectly, to tensions surrounding Dolph's death, then his own killing must have been retaliation. That's the narrative that took hold across YouTube, TikTok, Reddit, and Instagram. It made sense emotionally. It fit the pattern of back-and-forth street violence. It matched Memphis's history of feud escalation. But here's what: law enforcement has never publicly confirmed retaliation as the motive. No official statements linking his death to Dolph's case, no suspects charged under that theory. Right now, it remains exactly that, a theory. And theories gain traction when there's a vacuum of answers. Memphis has seen cycles like this before. Allegations lead to tension, tension leads to violence, violence leads to silence, and silence leaves room for interpretation. But interpretation isn't proof. Still, to the public, the optics were powerful, name mentioned in court. Months later, killed in a targeted shooting, case still unsolved. For many, that sequence felt too aligned to ignore. And once that idea settled into the streets, it didn't stay contained, because the next name dragged into the storm would make things even more chaotic. Here's where the story went from tense to chaotic. Within hours of Big Jook's death, social media detectives got to work. Threads popped up, reaction videos dropped, and somehow, one of the biggest names under collective music groups started trending for all the wrong reasons: Moneybag Yo. Now let's slow this down. There is no official evidence, no police statement, no court document tying Moneybag Yo to Big Jook's murder. He has not been charged. He has not been publicly named by law enforcement in connection to the case. So why did his name explode online? Simple: proximity. Moneybag Yo is one of CMG's biggest stars. He was publicly close to Yo Gotti and Big Jook. In high-profile tragedies, the public often looks inward first, inside the circle, before looking outward. Add in Memphis street politics, long-running rivalries, and the emotional weight of the moment, and rumors start spreading fast. Some YouTube channels pushed wild thumbnails claiming indictments or secret setups. The clickbait titles implied betrayals. Comment sections turned into speculation hubs. Views climbed, engagement spiked, but none of it was backed by confirmed facts. This is how the rumor machine works. Unsolved case, high-profile names, no clear suspect, and suddenly, assumptions become truth in the eyes of the internet. Moneybag Yo publicly mourned Big Jook like the rest of the CMG camp. There were no cryptic posts, no suspicious moves, no legal filings connecting him to the incident. Yet his name trended anyway. Because in moments like this, narrative moves faster than evidence. And once the internet locks onto a storyline, it's hard to undo. But this wasn't just about one rumor. It exposed something deeper about Memphis, and how street politics and music are still dangerously intertwined. To understand why rumors spread so fast, you have to understand Memphis. This isn't just a city with rap labels. It's a city divided by neighborhoods, loyalty lines, and decades-old tension. North Memphis, South Memphis, different blocks, different alliances, different histories. Yo Gotti came up from North Memphis. Young Dolph represented South Memphis. That divide wasn't invented by music. It existed long before record deals. But once rap success entered the picture, those lines became amplified. When artists sign to labels, they don't just bring talent, they bring neighborhood ties. And in cities like Memphis, those ties matter deeply. Moneybag Yo himself has spoken in interviews about how Memphis can be territorial, how certain areas don't mix, how old grudges don't disappear overnight. So, when tragedy hits someone connected to a powerful camp like Collective Music Group, Nick's speculation naturally follows those neighborhood lines. It becomes less about facts and more about assumed loyalty. If he's from that side, if he signed with them, if he was close to him, that's how street logic starts filling in blanks that law enforcement hasn't. But here's the reality. Street politics can explain tension. They cannot confirm guilt. Memphis has unfortunately seen real violence connected to rap beefs before. That history makes people quick to assume patterns. But patterns don't automatically apply to every situation. And when an unsolved case collides with deep neighborhood loyalty, the narrative becomes emotional. Emotional narratives spread faster than verified updates. That's how tragedy turns into viral debate. And that's how speculation becomes louder than evidence. The shooting happened in seconds, but the rumors lasted for months. That's the difference between real life and the internet. Within 24 hours of Big Jook's death, YouTube thumbnails were already screaming exposed. TikTok creators were breaking down secret motives. Comment sections were building full conspiracy timelines. And the case wasn't even 48 hours old. This is the modern formula. High-profile name, unsolved crime, emotional backstory. Add speculation, and you have viral fuel. Creators started connecting every past beef between young Dolph. They replayed old diss tracks, pulled archived interviews, zoomed into body language, slowed down surveillance clips. Then came the wild headlines linking Moneybag Yo to things that were never mentioned in official reports. No paperwork, no court filings, no police statements, just engagement. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Tragedy sells. The more shocking the theory, the higher the views. The louder the accusation, the stronger the click-through rate. And once a rumor spreads far enough, people stop asking whether it started from evidence or imagination. This doesn't just distort facts, it affects real people. Families grieving, artists navigating suspicion. A city already dealing with loss, now forced to watch its pain become entertainment. And while social media kept speculating, one person stayed almost completely silent. Yo Gotti. And that silence became its own headline. When something this big happens, people expect statements, press conferences, Instagram lives, emotional tributes. But after Big Jook's death, Yo Gotti stayed largely quiet. No long interviews breaking down what happened, no public accusations, no heated back and forth online. Just silence. And in today's social media era, silence doesn't stay neutral. It gets interpreted. Some people saw it as strength, a businessman refusing to fuel rumors, a brother grieving privately instead of performing pain for cameras. Others saw it differently. They questioned why he wasn't louder, why he didn't address the retaliation theory, why he didn't directly shut down online narratives. But here's what often gets ignored. When a case is active and unsolved, speaking publicly can complicize things. Anything said can be dissected, twisted, or pulled into legal conversations. In situations tied to courtroom testimony and ongoing investigations, silence can be strategy, not guilt. At the same time, Gotti had already transformed himself from street rapper to label executive and entrepreneur. His focus in recent years has been business expansion, restaurants, investments, CMG growth. Public drama doesn't align with that brand image. Still, the silence created space. In that space, speculation grew louder, because when there's no official narrative filling the air, the internet builds its own. The problem is, internet narratives rarely wait for facts, and that's how this story moved from investigation to legend, even while the case remains unsolved. More than a year after that funeral turned into a crime scene, one fact remains. No arrests, no named suspects, no confirmed motive. The Memphis Police Department has kept Big Jook's case listed as ongoing. Surveillance photos of a white SUV were released. Public tips were requested. But beyond that, the investigation has stayed quiet. And when a case like this stays unsolved, it leaves something heavy behind: uncertainty. For the family of Anthony Mims, that means no closure. For the Memphis rap scene, it means another open wound layered on top of past trauma tied to young Dolph's 2021 killing. The retaliation theory still floats around online. The courtroom testimony is still part of public record. The rivalries are still remembered. But officially, nothing has been proven connecting those dots. And that distinction matters. Because in high-profile cases tied to music and street politics, perception can become louder than paperwork. Memphis has already lost too many influential figures to violence. Each unsolved case adds to that weight. It reinforces the belief that justice moves slowly, or sometimes not at all. At the same time, it reminds everyone how fragile success can be in environments where past tension never fully disappears. Right now, this story sits in an uncomfortable place. It's dramatic. It's emotional. It's unfinished. Until law enforcement announces concrete developments, everything else remains speculation. And maybe that's the hardest part. The loudest voices online aren't investigators. They're commentators. But only one group holds the actual evidence. And until they speak, the truth stays locked behind closed files. When you strip away the rumors, the YouTube thumbnails, and the online debates, what's left is something much heavier than rap beef. It's a city dealing with cycles. Memphis has produced legendary talent, raw storytellers, independent moguls, cultural icons. But it's also battled deep-rooted street divisions that don't disappear just because someone signs a record deal. The deaths of figures connected to Collective Music Group and Paper Route Empire didn't just impact fans. They impacted neighborhoods, families, entire communities tied to those movements. When young Dolph was killed in 2021, it sent shockwaves through independent artists nationwide. When Anthony Mims was shot in 2024, it reopened wounds that never fully healed. And here's what often gets lost in the noise. Most artists who come from these environments are trying to outgrow them. They invest in businesses, open restaurants, build labels, mentor new talent. They attempt to move from survival mode to ownership mode, but history doesn't always let go easily. Old tensions linger, loyalty lines stay drawn. And when one incident happens, it can trigger years of unresolved friction. The tragedy isn't just the loss of one person, it's the reminder that success doesn't always shield you from the past. For Memphis, this isn't just a headline, it's part of a larger story about growth, conflict, and whether the culture can break free from patterns that keep repeating. And that's a question no courtroom can answer alone. Right now, the story sits in an uneasy place. The murder of Anthony Mims remains officially unsolved. No suspects have been publicly charged. No confirmed motive has been announced. The investigation is still listed as active. The courtroom testimony connected to young Dolph's case is part of public record, but testimony is not the same as a conviction. Allegations are not the same as proof. And the rumors linking names like Moneybag Yo or suggesting hidden betrayals inside collective music group remain exactly that, rumors. No paperwork confirms them. No official statement supports them. What this leaves us with is a hard reality. 2 major losses tied to one city's rap history, a feud that shaped headlines for years, and a case that still has no public resolution. Meanwhile, life moves on. Labels keep signing artists. Albums keep dropping. Businesses keep expanding. But underneath that progress sits unanswered grief. Maybe the real takeaway isn't about who did what. Maybe it's about how quickly tragedy turns into speculation, how fast online narratives can outrun verified facts, and how silence from authorities can create space for stories that may never be proven. Until law enforcement provides concrete answers, the truth remains incomplete. And Memphis once again waits.